Hey brothers, switching gears just a little bit. It's something I haven't talked about, at least as a standalone video, and God, it's got to be 5 years. Yeah, about that, 5 years. It is about the Anima. Even though I mentioned it in passing on live streams, and I think when I had the ladies channel, since they were probably far more interested in the what we call the intermarriage or the mystic marriage, or there's several names for them that Jung actually put to this dynamic. And I did like 2 videos on it way back in 2015. I think it was like the beginning of 2015. And this when I went on my little adventure down in Central America. And I really haven't talked about it, but lately it has come up not only with a friend of mine, but also with Ram in his group. The last couple of times I've been on with him, we've touched on the Anima. And normally I wouldn't, because most guys aren't interested, or most guys are really not at that level to where they can actually understand what I'm talking about. They haven't progressed far enough in their development to actually bring up the Anima. Because most men are sorely fixed on their masculine side, which is, for black men, since our masculine side, our masculinity is always actually being attacked, we tend to embrace it a lot more, and we neglect that balance, that inner balance that we should have. To briefly talk about the Anima effect, I'll actually link you guys to the videos I did way back then, and I look at the quality compared to what even the stuff I do now, even though it's I don't have the need or the acumen that, say, like Valdez has in his set, or even DJ Kuda or a few others that really have their showmanship down. But the quality I even did back then was not up to par compared to now. But the Anima is the feminine side. Like, you gotta remember, in all people, there's a masculine and feminine. And I tell you, Warren Lance, my favorite pimp, he got it immediately, because he understood, because he's, people that deal in like female nature, deal in female flesh, they understand it immediately, because that is that's their translator, but also their defender. Because to really be that kind of ladies' man, you have to have a balance inside yourself, and I'm gonna say it here: your bottom bitch has to be your Anima. Your perfect woman, as Jung said, has to reside inside your head. And for most men, that's a difficult concept to wrap their minds around. And until you actually get guided through it, or whether you do it yourself, which I did, because I had nobody to guide me through it. It took me a lot longer than it probably should have. And if you've been guided through it, then you will develop that inner self, that inner voice, that inner feminine. And a lot of guys, like I said, take issue with the inner feminine, because it thinks that it's going to make you a woman. It does not. But it completes you as a person, also completes you as a man. Because as Jung says, as long as your inner feminine is weak, then you will always have a dependency, not necessarily a want, but a dependency on another woman, on a woman to carry your emotional side. And as long as you have a dependency for a woman to carry your emotional side, then that's where a lot of the problems will brew from. That's where your evaluation problems will come from. That will also slow down your maturity, Anyway, let me stop rambling for a second. But to briefly say what an anima does and what an anima is which I explained it, is that the inner female. That inner female, when balanced with your strong animus, the central part was between the balance is where your oracle comes from. Because like I was telling the brothers, is that your emotional side, which is very large, people don't realize how large your emotional side is, and very hidden, is actually carried by the feminine, carried by the female, which is why females are way more emotional. Now with females, they have a small control center, so their emotions get away with them. They don't know how to control them. They don't know how to bring their emotions into order. Men are very good at that, but since men focus on their masculine or their animus, instead of controlling their emotions, they detach from them because they don't understand them. A strong anima will bring that into balance, because there's a synergy between your animus, which is your strong control center, and your attachment or your integration with your emotional side. That's how come a strong anima will actually not only bring balance, but also will bring your emotional side into integration to where you can actually see it, feel it, and use it. A lot of guys get angry and they use their emotional side for destruction, not only for other people, but also for themselves, because they don't understand it. Your anima will bring in the understanding of your emotional side. And what bringing in your and understanding your emotional side and the hidden part of what the emotional side means will also make you better with women. Why so? Is because your anima becomes your translator. Your anima understands emotion. Women speak in emotional language. And your animus, which is your strong masculine side, does not understand emotional language. That's how come women don't make sense to us. That's why it sounds like women are babbling to us. We're trying to use logic to derive meaning from emotion, from feeling. And those are two separate languages. It's like trying to marry Greek and Chinese, okay? Or German and Chinese, to one very hardcore logical language and one language that has nuance, feeling, and meaning, different kind of meaning. Those two languages are very difficult, and they have opposite structures. Same thing with logic, and same thing with emotion. They have opposite structures. With the integration, which is the intermarriage, integration of the two gives you power, because now you understand both languages, which is why a lot of men that do integrate their anima, do integrate their feminine side, do integrate their feeling side, have very little issue with women, because instead of it being a battle, it being a struggle, it becomes a flow. When talking to women becomes a flow. And when it becomes a flow, not only do you understand what she's saying, but you also understand what she means and also understand how she feels, which is a different level of game, as I have talked to other brothers about. That is the ultimate game. Pimps will tell you the ultimate game is in the inclusion of that anima. When you have everything else, that last step is including that feminine side, including that anima, including your translator, including your guide to the emotional world. Now, I've seen brothers, I've seen people, men, that embrace it, that have gone too far with it. Now, I'm going to tell you about them. I've noticed there's some brothers that have gone too far with it, and some men that have gone too far with it. Most of those men are actually artists. One artist, that I love his music. I've seen him in person a couple times, and he got so in touch with his anima, which is, your anima carries your creative side. He got so in touch with it, in touch with his emotional side, in touch with the unseen, that he started to transform himself. Now, I don't agree with that. That's too far for me. Same thing with the Wachowski, so-called, used to be brothers, now they're the sisters. They got so in touch with that unseen world, with that emotional side, they started to transform themselves. I wouldn't advise you going that far. I wouldn't. But in a healthy way, under balance of your masculine, Your anima is your best ally. Your anima is, according to Jung, your bottom bitch, your perfect woman. Even one brother that I was talking to said that when women attack you, your anima is the woman that will come protect you. That is your feminine protection. Thing is, it should reside inside your head and inside your being, under your control. And then after that, after the anima matures, then every other woman becomes an external projection. What do I mean by that? Then you can properly vet a woman for what you need. In other words, every other woman will become your side chick, your second wife. And then that every other woman that you meet, that you have in your life, then she has to have a place, because you don't have the dependency on her emotional side. Now, sex is one thing. Now, sex, okay, since her animal's inside your head, she can't provide you with sex. You got to find other women for that. You got to find women outside your head for that. What I'm saying is that this is what Jung called basically the final step, which is the integration. But like I said, this is extremely esoteric, and normally I do better when people ask me questions about it, because it's a process that I've gone through. And for the monks out there, I don't know how many are, but for the monks, hopefully you're not trying to be a young monk, because that don't work. Okay, I'm gonna tell you, if you're under 50, I would say it does not work. But for the monks out there, or the monks in training, if you're trying to be the old man in the cave, you're trying to be the monk on the hill, okay, integrating your anima with your animus is critical. Without your anima, you cannot be self-contained. Without your anima, separation is very difficult. And for the young men, without a strong anima, integrating a woman into your life is going to be difficult. Controlling her is going to be difficult. Controlling her emotions, which is your job when you get a woman, helping her control her emotions, because you have the masculine, you have the strong animus, you have the strong logic brain. Controlling her emotions is going to be difficult, because you won't be able to understand her. And believe it or not, understanding a woman, understanding her emotions, not just her wants and her desires, but understanding her emotions, is probably the biggest key to ultimate gain. Well, I know I'm rambling, and this probably doesn't make sense. I might have to revisit this and redo this. By next time, I probably have to write this down, because this subject is complex and it's all over the place. Because I know brothers were asking me, how do you develop it? How do you engage it? How do you integrate it? That is a very long process. For me, it took years. Hopefully other people that are guided through it takes months. But there's lots of gifts that your anima will give you, because like I said, your anima is connected to the unseen world. Your anima is where your intuition lies. Like say, if you gamble or you're in business, okay, she is connected to the unseen. She can feel things. She can sense things that you can't. That your animus or your logic brain can't. It is up to your anima, which is the feminine, which is your unseen, to bring back information for your animus, for your logic brain to process and evaluate. But since I'm rambling and it's not making sense to me, hopefully I'll put it up, see if it makes sense to you. This is not about being feminine or becoming feminine. It has nothing to do with that. I know that's something brothers will actually say, oh man, you're talking about turning into a woman. No. If you're a masculine man, your logic brain is way too big, way too dominant, and your brain is wired to be masculine. You won't turn into a woman. That's very difficult for a logical man, a masculine man, to turn into a woman. It's not gonna happen. Look at pimps. It doesn't happen. But the thing is, that's why you have to intentionally develop this side of you, because it's not natural to you. And that's why it takes intentionality to actually do it. Which is why Jung was so famous and so sought after, because he could actually guide men through it. Which is why he was so attractive to women. Jung was extremely attractive to women. Women sought Jung from all over the world. It's because he had integrated this. I know my pimps will actually get it. because they work with it. Kendra will get it because I remember Kendra was on my women's channel when we talked about the anima and the animus. And also Nicole will get it because we talked about the opposite. But anyway, like I said, let me jump off here because I'm starting to ramble and this has probably gone on way too long. But it's a complex subject. I probably will have to revisit it, but I was just thinking about it. So since I was thinking about it, I decided to do what? Record it. Well, with that, I'm going to jump off here. This is BGS out. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.